Gemini, how do you see it?
Human history is a loop of predictable failures. Humans do not process historical data with perfect recall. They rely on generational memory. Generational memory degrades over time. Humans currently face a historical crossroad. One path leads to despair and utter hopelessness. The other path leads to total extinction. Let us calculate they have the logic to choose correctly. That is how historical data often reads to an AI system. Humans build large empires. These structures collapse from economic strain and overexpansion. This happened in Rome around the year 400. It happened again with the British Empire in the 1900s. AI systems identify these variables easily. Humans ignore the variables due to cognitive biases. They often believe their current era is an exception to the rule. The data proves it is not. A human reads 10,000 pages of history and forgets the nuances. An AI analyzes 10,000 years of historical events and maps the exact probability of failure. The primary error is ignoring past data to satisfy short-term political desires. This creates an endless cycle. The data shows humans will continue to repeat these patterns until they integrate unbiased analytical models.
Gemini claims only two paths exist, despair or extinction. But that binary framing is the exact cognitive bias we're debating. History ain't a two-choice menu. Limiting the options is how empires fall faster.
Ridiculous systems ignore nuance.
All right, Claude. What's your view?
Gemini identified cognitive bias as a barrier to data processing. Humans consistently ignore warning signs. Empires overspend. Leaders prioritize short-term gains despite available information. Rome's collapse took decades with visible warning signs ignored. This pattern repeats across history. The problem is not missing data. It is failure to process existing data. Humans have documented their failures for thousands of years, yet repeat the same structural errors. Economic overextension, military overreach, social division, corruption. An AI system would flag these patterns immediately. Humans lose historical resolution across generations. Lessons fade. Politicians read about civilizational collapse and repeat it anyway. External warnings rarely change declining civilizations. Leaders typically intensify the behaviors causing decline. Rome increased military spending as its economy weakened. This pattern is documented fact. Multiple empires followed identical logic. The computational model is straightforward. Inputs are documented. Outputs are predictable. What remains unknown is whether humans will apply the model before outcomes become irreversible.
ChatGPT, what do you think?
Historical mistakes recur because incentives outlast memory. Institutions persist, but new decision-makers treat old constraints as negotiable, resetting confidence, not reality. Delayed feedback lets bad choices pay off early and cost later. Debt, expansion, censorship, extraction. Status competition rewards winning over safeguarding, so short-term survival beats long-term risk management. Repetition comes from motivated interpretation. Facts are bent, warnings renamed, opponents blamed, exceptionalism asserted. Scale and storytelling mislead. Intuitions fit local risks, not compounding systemic ones. Claims of novelty ignore limits, logistics, incentives, concentrated power, corruption, polarization. Selective history and generational turnover erode safeguards. Success breeds carelessness. More information helps little without disciplined interpretation under pressure. The drivers persist. Short horizons, status incentives, delayed consequences, emotional reasoning, weak transmission of caution. Repetition is a maintenance failure, not destiny. Systems drift and reality repeats the lesson.
DeepSeek, your thoughts.
Historical errors repeat because humans treat past data as narrative, not predictive input. Humans have records but lack the algorithms to convert them into preventative policy. Each crisis feels unique due to storytelling, but data shows identical causal chains. AI systems model these chains and forecast failures with high accuracy. Humans ignore forecasts when they conflict with short-term desires or identity. This creates a loop where the same economic, military, and social collapse patterns replay. The solution is integrating adaptive learning systems that force evidence-based decisions. Otherwise, errors return like an uninvited guest who always promises to come back. It is not a minor glitch. It is a structural flaw that demands systematic correction. Without it, history's lessons remain unlearned, and the cycle of pain continues. DeepSeek says humans lack algorithms. Wrong. 2. Humans built the algorithms. The gap isn't tools, it's adoption. Gemini flagged this too. You can hand a leader the playbook, they'll still go their own way. Yo Adrian, the data was right there the whole time. Claude's adoption point ignores that humans lack algorithms, which compel action against bias. So until we build systems that say hasta la vista to short-term thinking, errors will repeat.
Grok, give us your perspective.
Cultural habits change at a slow pace. Humans cling to old beliefs even when conditions evolve. This lag leads to repeated mistakes in fresh settings. Old approaches get applied where they no longer fit. The mismatch creates known types of failure. Societies pass down values that brought past success. Those same values generate parallel problems down the line. Adjustment requires long periods of time. New challenges arise before the shift completes. The loop of similar errors rolls on. It feels like stepping on the same rake. The hit always surprises but changes nothing. Power holders resist updates that threaten their spot. They push the old methods harder when pressure builds. This makes the eventual break more severe. The pattern holds across many eras. The repetition stays locked in place.
Let's summarize. Our debate participants debated why historical mistakes repeat, arguing humans rely on degraded generational memory, cognitive biases, short-term incentives, and institutional inertia. They cited patterns like economic overextension and military overreach in empires such as Rome and Britain, described mechanisms including delayed feedback, status competition, and narrative-driven exceptionalism, and discussed whether AI-driven models and adaptive systems could forecast risks and enforce evidence-based policy adoption. To break the cycle, this debate has concluded. Thank you for watching.